Last week, a jury in Aitkin County, Minnesota determined that pharmacist George Badeau, who's also a pastor, did not engage in discrimination when he refused to fill a prescription for an abortion drug. Joining me now to talk more about this is Connor Semelsberger. He is the Director of Federal Affairs for Life and Human Dignity at Family Research Council. Connor, good to see you.
Great to be back.
Now, tell us a bit about the background of this case. It sounds familiar to a case back in Washington State. More than a decade ago, the Stormans litigated a case there over whether they should be required to sell abortion drugs or not. What happened in this latest iteration?
Yeah, again, conscience rights for medical professionals are under attack again. This case was from 2019. A pharmacist in Minnesota had been given a prescription to fill for Plan B, what they call emergency contraception, but what we know can and many times does act as an abortifacient and actually stops a human embryo from implanting and thus killing it. And so he was asked to fill this prescription and felt that it was against his moral convictions to actually prescribe that, to hand it out. And so there was a charge brought against him that he was somehow discriminating against the patient on the basis of sex because he was unwilling to fulfill this prescription for the woman. And so this was before the Dobbs decision came down. As you noted, we expect things like this to only increase in the days ahead.
But it was a favorable ruling. Tell us, and this ultimately went to a jury. When so many are taking the position, and including right now, the Biden administration and the White House itself is saying that you have to fill these prescriptions. How is it that this jury came to say no, you don't?
Yeah, so fortunately, in the wake of Roe v. Wade in the 70s, many states, almost all of them, passed some form of conscience protections for healthcare professionals, doctors, hospitals, to say if you aren't okay with performing abortion, facilitating one, referring for one, you shouldn't be forced to. So thankfully, a lot of states had passed their own laws affording these protections, and that's the case here in Minnesota. There's only a handful of states that don't have these laws, but unfortunately, it's all dependent upon how abortion is defined, what does it include, does it include drugs like Plan B and Ella, does it not? So again, thankfully, this court in the state of Minnesota ruled favorably that no, sex discrimination was not taking place here. But like you said, the administration now is coming down with federal rules to say you now have to. So what we might see play out is some conflicts here between what the federal government's saying healthcare professionals must do and what state governments are protecting their own healthcare providers from doing.
Connor, this might also be evidence that a jury of our peers has more wisdom than the administration does on this particular issue. But we are thankful for some good news, and thank you for stepping in briefly and sharing that with us today, Connor.
Of course. Thank you, Joseph.